Mindfulness is the key to a man's self-improvement, career, total love of his woman, and dissolvement of his purpose. When a man is no longer valued by what he does, his finances, or social standing, how do you determine his wealth? It is in his presence, his depth. His total awareness of consciousness is his most valuable asset. If you look back to the times where you failed, moments of shame and even not getting that passing grade, it all comes down to your presence. If you were a little bit more mindful, you wouldn't have stayed up all night on your phone or had that junk food and indulged in chocolate. We can now understand that our vices come from the lack of being mindful. To improve our lives, we must understand what mindfulness is. It is the total sobriety of the mind, to be present of every thought that comes into your mind and decide if they should be given light or not. To the depths of the bellows of your breath, and to have your mind shot like an arrow, straight and with precision to a target. If I think about my life when I was less mindful, it was that of floating around. I never got anything done, and I was indulging deeply into all these bad habits. I would get the desire to play video games, and I would act upon it. I'd get the desire to eat food, and I would go for just the easiest option. Because when you are less mindful, you're more like a slave. You're just floating throughout the day, trying to find the smoothest path, like a bag in the wind. It just flows with its environment. So when I was less mindful, I was less of a man. I never got anything done. I indulged in instant gratifications all the time, and I could never be consistent with things. When I finally had a moment of clarity and decided to be mindful, I looked upon my old life with finally present thought. I could see that I was just gliding along, not getting anything done. And that for once in a present moment, I was mindful of the actions I was doing. I had this retrospective now that these things that I used to do were bad. And I was caught up in things that numbed and dulled my mind. So the key for your self-improvement, success, the loving of a woman, all comes down to your presence. If you can look someone in the eyes and truly see their soul and grasp everything they're saying. If you're a college student right now, or if you're in high school, this is a skill that needs to be cultivated. Because if you can sit down and actually listen to your teacher, maybe you can get passing grades. Like, did you even click on this video with a present thought? So I want to get into some things that reduce your mindfulness, and then into some things that will improve your consciousness, your presence, and your mindfulness. Because we understand now that on self-improvement, you have so many bad habits, things that you need to remove and replace. And the superpower of being mindful is having the skill to acknowledge when a bad habit creeps up. Let's say you're addicted to pornography, for example, something that cripples a lot of young men. The more mindful you are, the more you think upon it, next time you get that trigger, that jolt of, oh, I should go off and do this, you can acknowledge it and stop yourself doing it. Because when you are less mindful, you end up going through the full motion, you get that post-nut clarity, and then you think, oh, fuck, I probably shouldn't have done that. So you get to acknowledge your bad habits and be able to stop them before they fully flourish. You get to love women better because you're more present and you make them less nervous. You can have a career, a business, or some type of purpose, and you can give it your all because you're clear and present. When was the last day that you were actually present throughout the entire thing? I think a lot of men never had a day like that. It's so easy just to wake up, grab your phone, scroll. Oh, I have to go somewhere? Let me jump in the car, turn my song on, put some music on, and you zone out until you're in that destination. So then days fly by over and over and over again. To actually become a superior man is to be mindful of his actions. The first thing that should be limited or entirely removed from your life to increase mindfulness is social media. I think that's a pretty self-explanatory one, but to break it down, we must understand what social media does to our mind, specifically scrolling, Instagram Reels, TikToks, those hits of instant dopamine. As I said prior, if you start your day with just a quick scroll on your phone, the reason why that is so bad is it's because it's getting rid of your clarity. You're grabbing your phone with the idea, we'll use Instagram for example, that's the one that's had the biggest hook on me. I'll grab Instagram, I'll open it almost in a reflex because it's been a habit. And when I scroll, I don't have a conscious or a mindful thought. It's not like I'm going on Instagram to go find a certain type of video to watch. So then I scroll and I don't know what's going to happen next. And you're chasing it and you start laughing and you start getting emotionally twisted and pulled. You see one happy video, you see one sad video, you see something that's inspirational, something that's just degenerate. It's a spiking of your emotions. So then once you finally get off this trap that's been chaining your focus to it, it's so easy to scroll for hours because it's just a new hit of dopamine. And if you were to put down your phone and think about what did I see on Instagram for the past hour, you would only remember the last 5 Instagram reels. And you're kind of sitting down and you're just mentally fatigued because your brain has been pulled in so many different directions, which Instagram has been programmed with all the other short form content has been programmed to keep you hooked. So when you finally put the phone down, your mind is so fatigued. So when you have other things to go do, you're too mentally stupid to go out and do that. And that brings us to the second one, video games. Now, sure, I think on this topic, there might be some actual cognitive benefits of video games. But if we're talking about being mindful throughout the day, it is still an escape. And when I play a video game, let's say one, for example, CSGO, I was a fan of that game and I would play a competition game. So it's high risk, high reward. It's all about trying to win. It's competitive. And after I get done with even one game, I'm so mentally strained that it felt like I actually went out in real life and did a hard task. Like I went and did boxing training, for example. So imagine you're playing video games for hours, just fatiguing your mind, and you finally get off and go into the real world, and then you're just brain dead. And we understand being brain dead leads to all of our mistakes and misdoings because we're not present enough and we're too much of a monkey to do the right things. Other things that really destroy your mind are drugs, alcohol, pornography. I think they're self-explanatory. They twist and distort your mind. Drugs, for example, give you a false idea of mindfulness. Let's say you smoke weed and you think you're a genius, but you're actually just stupid. Or you drink and you think you're very charismatic and happy, but again, it's just a mask. You don't get anything done. This all goes down to overstimulating activities. If you are overstimulating your brain, it's going to be straining it. It's going to be straining it, and you're going to form a neurotic habit where you chase instant gratifications forever. And then your entire day goes about yearning for this stuff. And it comes with having a lack of routine. I went through this life when I was younger, and I didn't have a whole lot of things going on. So after we got some of those things out of the way, and to understand an unmindful thing is truly something that pulls you out of the present clarity. So a lot of these things that I just list off, even your diet could be one of them. If you're eating food that have extreme amounts of sugar and it's just causing you to feel bloated and mentally slow, that's even one thing. But to get into the activities and lifestyle to actually increase your mindfulness, to allow us to succeed in life because we're being present, I want to first clarify what are some false activities, ones people think actually improve their mindfulness but are kind of a cheap escape. To start with this list, I have caffeine. Now, I believe caffeine is great for you. It's a gift from the gods, and it really has no downsides. Of course, with caffeine, there is repercussions just like everything. You might have the idea of being mindful is being wired to the bone on caffeine. But a lot of people treat caffeine inappropriately, like a Band-Aid over a wound. It's not going to do much if you still have a root problem. And that root problem many people have with caffeine is being overly reliant. And one of the best things I did for my life was build a healthy relationship around caffeine. This is some espresso right now. Now, why I deserve that and why it actually gives me a cognitive boost, and when you use it, it doesn't, is because I'm actually well rested. I got about 9 to 10 hours of sleep last night. I waited 90 minutes after I woke up to have caffeine so I wouldn't have a dip in the afternoon. I would actually increase my cognitive ability above my baseline, so when I'm writing my script and recording my videos, I'm more focused and present on a task. But when you don't do that and you overly drink caffeine, it causes a neurotic breakdown of anxiousness and ruins your sleep schedule. So you have to be careful if you are going to use caffeine as a cognitive booster to go about it right. Sleep well, wait 90 minutes after you wake up to have caffeine, and remember that it stays in your system for about 10 to 12 hours. So if you plan on going to bed at 8 p.m., have your caffeine 12 to 10 hours before then. The other one is nicotine. I think it's very popular, and it's honestly discouraging that the modern agenda right now is to boost nicotine into your system for a cognitive boost. And some people, and myself even, have experimented with it, and it does work. But it's not good for you. Increases your prolactin, estrogen, destroys your heart, and if you're inhaling it, it's bad for your lungs. It is only going to be something you end up relying on like an addict, since it's one of the most addictive things in the world, that when you're sitting there on your computer trying to do something, you need a Zyn. When you're talking to a girl, you need a Zyn, or you need a smoke, or you need a vape, and you become neurotic. It doesn't have the high rewards like caffeine does or anything else. It ends up being a strain and a parasite in your life. So come from someone that used to do this stuff and say no to nicotine. The other ones that are false mindfulness activities, and I'll get into the real ones, are music, which I will discuss, is sometimes you think, all right, time to lock in, time to focus, and you put on music. I will get into music later, but you have to be a little bit wary of that. The next one is weed and alcohol. I stated this before in the ones that you should avoid, but you really need to understand that getting a little high, yeah, it draws you into your mind, but it makes you stupid. It's a false sense where you have these big thoughts, you have these wild thoughts, and you end up just realizing you would have had the same ones if you were sober. Same with alcohol, pulls you more into your mind and allows you to think and be mindful, sure, but who is actually having just a nip of alcohol or a slight hit of weed? You all are just degenerates, and I don't trust you with that stuff in your life. So I'm going to say don't do that. But to actually get into the steps that will improve your mindfulness, to allow you to succeed in life, are the following. The first one, and if you take anything from this video, is understand that this meditation is the only one you really need. Meditation is the training of consciousness in your mind and allowing you to be fully present. It is like a rep in the gym. If you want to grow your mindfulness in real life, you need to meditate. And meditation, there's many forms, but the one that will improve your mindfulness is to sit down on your bed or somewhere nice, and you close your eyes and you be mindful of your breath. We'll do a breath right now. And you follow it. The inhale and exhale, the bellowing of your belly, and the path of it. Now, why people focus on the breath is because it's a very easy one. And we understand meditation is kind of like a cycle. It starts with becoming mindful. So you lock onto your target, that is your breath. And then you get pulled away from it, which ends up being when you get distracted, you have a thought that comes into your mind, and then you get mindful of that distraction. And then you say, all right, I acknowledge that distraction. Let me get back and try to be mindful. And then you get mindful again, and you're in the present moment. And that full is a rep. That is what is needed to meditate. Now, when you meditate, it's extremely difficult. I'm going to recommend you to start in the morning when you're fasted, well rested, maybe take a shower or put on some calming music, and you practice for just 3 minutes. Because 3 minutes is all you're gonna need. Maybe not for your girlfriend, but for you, that's all you need. And it's gonna suck. You're gonna be really bad at it. But if you continue to go throughout it, you're going to build the momentum where you can eventually sit down and meditate. I remember one time I meditated and I felt like I was in a Shiva-like state. I got done with meditation. I found the perfect rhythm and I felt like I was present meditating for 30 minutes. I went upstairs, I made my breakfast, and everything I did was articulated in such a manner that I was present, and it was one of my favorite moments in my entire life. And that was through meditation. And when you are mindful and your mind is more clear, you're not gonna fail because you think, oh, I shouldn't be a dumbass and do X, Y, and Z. And something I mentioned in that is the second step, is fasting. Now, you can't go all day without fasting. No shit. But with fasting, especially if you have important things to do in the morning, like myself with writing scripts and recording videos, is when my stomach is empty and it's not digesting and being used, I'm clear, present, and I can focus immaculately. So the instant you go off and eat, whether it is just meat, protein, or something nice, I don't believe in like a no-carb diet, your mind's gonna be a little bit pulled away to digest said food. So it's important, if you have anything big, like decisions in life, think upon them fasted. So your mind is not neutered in a way. Now, what we had stated before was caffeine. It's good for you. It improves you. Just be careful. The second one is music. This is something I really do and like, but there is kind of like a downside if you listen to music it can pull your mind away. So you have to listen to music that almost reduces the noise in your brain. I listen to, I believe it's called stoic ambience, or certain hertz of music. Because yeah, it's nice to put on some music and try to work, but then I'll end up listening to it. But to actually be drawn into something, I find that just some very quiet, simple music improves my productivity and actually allows me to work so much more clear and present. Because if I hear some weird noise, I just get drawn aside and it ruins my presenceness. And other ones I have is journaling. Same thing with the bad habits. If you want to be mindful of the life that you're living, you have to write down what you are doing. Like, all right, I relapsed. Why did I do that? And you get autistic and you really find out your details of it. Like, why was I a coward? Why did I pull away? This, that. You end up journaling, whether through gratitude journaling, which is a lovely one, or you pick apart your mind. And it's really just an improvement in your life. I'm not going to go fully depth into it. And another one is working out. This is just something that sharpens your mind. Of course, you can work out and you can really strain yourself and then you're sitting there just super tired. But I usually find some form of physical activity around 30 minutes long just sharpens my mind and allows me to propel myself throughout the rest of the day, which I usually work out after I eat to kind of get rid of that mind fog. And it just allows me to be more present and clear because it's a hard activity. It's difficult, it's not totally rewarding, and it's the antithesis to all your instant gratifications because it takes years to get what you want and it's a hard thing to do. Other ones I have is routine. That's going to be the last one I talk about is routine. I gave you the acknowledgement of ones that are bad for you. I gave you the acknowledgement of ones that are good for you, for your consciousness, for your mindfulness. And you have to understand that you need to build structure into your life to fully go throughout and be consistent and get what you want. So build a routine that doesn't allow you to dip into activities that draw your mind away from the present moment. And with these things I gave you, build a routine where they are implemented and founded. Like reading. That's something I was gonna put in the script, is reading. How many of you actually sit down and read for an hour? It's hard, you know. Sometimes I read a book and it's like my mind wanders. Little things like that, going on hikes, or reading, just sitting down and taking everything in. It improves your life, it slows you down, and it prepares you for the next thing in life. If you don't know me, I'm Maxwell. I help teach young men find self-improvement and purpose. I appreciate it that you stayed this long in the video, and I would love if you'd like and subscribe, comment down below, and I'll see you on the next video.